So what were some of the achievements of Bracknell Development Corporation?
So between 1949 and 1982, the Development Corporation built more than 15,000 houses. They built more than 297,000 square metres of lettable factory space. They built over 97 kilometres of roads. They built over 50,000 square metres of lettable shop space. I mean, if you think of Bracknell, so before 1949, you've got a population of around 5,000 people. And by the time the corporation is dissolved in 1982, you have a population of more than 35,000. Bracknell's population today is approaching 100,000.
Wow.
And I mean, Bracknell's quite a young parish. I mean, it was only created a civil parish in 1955 and a ecclesiastical parish back in 1846. So between 1846 and sort of the present day, Bracknell has transformed hugely. The population has boomed in ways that other towns that aren't new towns nowhere have.
And how does Bracknell compare to other new towns? Sort of, are there quite a few similarities, or is Bracknell quite unique?
So Bracknell is somewhat smaller than some of the others, such as you've got Milton Keynes, you've got Central Lancashire, which is around 250,000. Okay. But Bracknell was only ever supposed to meet 25,000 and then 60,000 people. So it's done very well. It is very unique. Bracknell has lots of natural landscaping and woodlands. It is one of, if not the most wooded new town in Britain. It's incredibly green. A lot of the corporation's legacy in terms of like housing and things are still standing, still very much used to today. It's also unique. I previously mentioned there was at least one woman on each of the corporation's boards. So this, in lots of their other things, such as like in the engineers department, I've seen a picture of one of their female staff members. They had definitely had housing managers, social development officers, press officers, who all were women. And if you think of sort of the 1950s to 1982, you've got more women coming into the workplace. I think it's really interesting that you've got more women than perhaps in other new towns. One of the other interesting things is when I've been looking at the architectural drawings, a lot of the time, they include multiple women's toilets.
Okay.
And so at this time, a lot of times there wouldn't be any at all, or you'd get one sort of like on the third floor in a corner. So the fact that they thought to have more of them and that jobs were being created in the new town for both men and women, it makes Bracknell really unique and really interesting. And I think that Bracknell residents are really fortunate they've got so much green space and that the corporation worked so hard to retain as much of the natural woodlands as they could.
You mentioned that there was always one woman on the board. Do you know if that was a deliberate decision that they decided they always needed a woman, or is that just how it happened to turn out, or do we have no idea?
We don't have any idea.
Okay.
There's no, I mean, I haven't seen any documents that specifically say we must have one woman on each board. I think they're just appointing people who they felt should be involved. So appointments worked where the corporation would put someone forward and then the minister would have to agree and say, yes, I agree that they're really useful. You'd have to prove yourself to be useful.
Okay.
So there were some board members who were only appointed for one term because maybe they weren't as useful as others who were appointed multiple times.
Okay.
There was two women in particular who were on the board, so Eva Jarvis and Lola Brooke, who I mentioned earlier. And I think both of them served for around more than 15 years.
Okay.
And they kept on being reappointed because they were of so much use to the corporation. So when I say of use, it's their knowledge, their experience. You know, they know a lot about the local area, or they know a lot about architectural developments, or they're really in touch with the community, or like I said, they work for like Berkshire County Council, East Hampstead Rural District Council, or Bracknell Parish Council. So the people who are making the big decisions, the board, are really representing the local community.
And so were there any more sort of long-term legacies of this Bracknell new town? I mean, obviously Bracknell is still standing today and you can sort of see many of them, but are there sort of any more you want to highlight?
So yeah, you can definitely see, so I would say the residential developments, you can see everywhere. I mean, you look at the 10 neighbourhoods, you look at Point Royal, you look at all the housing everywhere, and it's all the things that the corporation built. Bracknell High Street, although it has been redeveloped and the town centre looks different now, a lot of what was there previously had been hard work by the corporation. And I think although it's changed now, the sort of how it looks, the shape of it, in terms of how large the town centre is, and its overarching design are from the corporation. And of course, there's lots of things that are still in use in Bracknell, like the sewers, the reservoir, the roads, the bridges, the schools, the colleges. They're all corporation built, and they're all very much in use today. I also think when you think of the corporation's legacy, you have to think of it not just in terms of everything they built, but also in the way they shaped Bracknell. So lots of their decisions about making Bracknell look the way it did, placing residential areas where they did, making sure that there's easy transport links, and making sure that people can walk, it's easy to navigate, are all things that people sort of probably use in everyday life and maybe don't appreciate, or maybe don't realise that the corporation planned them and designed them.
So those are some of Bracknell's legacies, but are there any other legacies of new towns sort of more generally throughout Britain and Ireland?
So new towns in Britain specifically house around 3 million people. They did quite a good job in decongesting areas. So some of the later new towns, the sort of phase 2, a lot of them were built to be sort of brand new towns for people to commute from to industrial places. They did a very good job in sort of spreading people out and helping to stop places being so overpopulated. I think they have a really positive legacy. I think if we talk specifically about Bracknell is one of the wealthiest, if not the wealthiest new towns, probably due to its location and being in the sort of the tech valley of the UK. But other new towns across Britain have done really, really well. New towns in general, sort of statistics I've read, have said that people tend to be sort of happier and healthier in new towns than they do in lots of other places. This is potentially due to their design, that they did take into account sort of providing places for people to have leisure and downtime and green spaces and open space, places to walk. So I think that's really interesting, and it shows how beneficial new towns can be.
So new towns were definitely considered a success, and Bracknell specifically, would you say?
I would say they're definitely a success.
Yeah.
I mean, Bracknell specifically, I would definitely say yes. I would say also for the other new towns like Stevenage and Hemel Hempstead and Hatfield and lots of them, I think they did a really, really good job in developing their new towns. They were really careful about the decisions they made and the money they spent. And the towns today, I think, represent that. And of course, like other developments going to take place, like over time, you're going to have to rebuild things or redevelop, and people's needs and wants are going to change. So that's going to happen anywhere. But I think for new towns, for when they were built, for that sort of post-war period of we want to help people and we really want to make their lives better, I think they succeeded. I think they achieved what they set out to do.
Finally, do you have a favourite item in the collection that you've archived, or a favourite portion? It's a large collection, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a very large collection. I really like the corporation's coat of arms, which has a stag and sort of green field. It's really, really interesting, and I think it's really beautiful to look at. I also quite like, all of our plans, they may not be the most interesting to people, but it is really, really fascinating to see how things developed and how, just from like the 50s to the 60s, how their design changes, and then you go into the 70s and you get buildings with different types of windows and things like they start considering like, we need like carriages and car parking more widely, or we need cycle routes, we need for people to be able to walk around much more than we ever thought was possible before. So I think they're really interesting as well. And of course the photographs, it's lovely to see the plans come to life, like what actually was built, but it's also lovely to see on the rare opportunity you get to when you see a corporation staff member, so it's put the face to the name, and it's nice to see that, the people behind it all who worked so hard, it's lovely to see them.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for that. It's been fascinating to learn about the development corporations.